Yeah, what would you say is the biggest mistake most people make when they're training their legs?
Avoiding the areas that they supposedly have problems with. Oh, my physio says don't bend my back because I have back problems. Well, no, you just have to get really, really good at bending your back. So,
welcome back to Unleash Success. This is your host, Corey Corpodian. Today we're interviewing Ben Patrick, aka the knees over toes guy. Whether you're trying to increase your vertical jump in the gym, be more athletic on the weekends, or just get rid of some knee pain, which we've all experienced at some point in our life, Ben can help you figure that out. He went from having a 19-inch vertical and chronic knee pain to a 39-inch vertical and bulletproof knees.
Welcome to the Unleash Success Podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome back to Unleash Success. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, just go to unleashsuccess.com, enter your email so you can get all the tools and strategies sent directly to you each and every week. Today we're interviewing Ben Patrick, aka the knees over toes guy. He went from having a 19-inch vertical and chronic knee pain to a 39-inch vertical and bulletproof knees. Ben is the owner of ATG Gym, where he helps other people accomplish the same things. And today he's going to help us break down the secrets to what creates bulletproof knees. Ben, thanks for coming on the show.
thank you so much, and thanks for the awesome intro.
My pleasure. Like I said, I'm really excited because I feel like anybody who has any kind of athletic background, or even just as you get older, and some people are really young and they don't feel this, but getting into your 30s and 40s, those knee pain, that can be really serious. And if there's some simple exercises that we can do to bulletproof our knees for longevity, that's definitely something everybody would love to hear. So how did you get into this? What was the chronic knee pain? What happened to you? Did you have an injury, or where did that start for you?
Well, I've always been obsessed with basketball, and I was that kid that was obsessed with practicing more than anyone else. And when I was around 12, I started to notice really bad knee pain every day. And it just got worse and worse and worse to the point that my senior year of high school, I didn't even play a game. I had had multiple knee surgeries by that point. So what started out as my biggest passion in life led to a pretty depressing life because I couldn't play because of my knees. So that's how I got started on this path of trying to figure out how to bulletproof the knees.
So at 12 years old, which is really young to start experiencing knee pain, most kids bounce back like nothing. But what did they end up doing surgery for? Did you tear something? Did you injure it?
Yeah, I eventually felt a pop at some point. But when they went in and looked at my knee, there was a lot more than just that injury. My whole kneecap was just fractured, and not even from injury, just from the years. And I was told I had 100% torn ACL, and it was a big mess. And I was so depressed, I didn't even want to know what they did. So I have some dead guy's meniscus. I know that my kneecap is made of some artificial substance. I didn't even, at the time, I was so unable to confront the subject that I didn't even get the details, and I've never looked back. But I did decide after that, I got a sort of new outlook on life. High school was done. I had to decide what was I going to do with my life. And I decided that I was going to dedicate my life to figuring out how to bulletproof my knees. And so I never looked back in terms of what exactly happened to me from a medical standpoint, but I've never run into a problem with the knees that I didn't fix. So,
man, that's incredible. Mentally struggling with an injury, Unleash Success is a lot about the mindset, and figuring out how to deal with things. And I find it interesting, a lot of people like to dwell on the past, and you're like, I'm done. I'm moving on. I'm going to the next thing. How'd you flip that switch?
Yeah, like I said, I got a new outlook on life when I was about 18 and had a sort of life kind of opened back up to me, like, maybe I could be happy. I was very depressed because of my knees, and it just clicked for me. That was going to be my mission. I still remember the day that I decided that, and that was it. So all my efforts went into figuring out how to bulletproof the knees. Between 12 and 18, of course, I had the knee problems, but I was always going to other people to get it fixed, going to doctors, going to chiropractors, going to stretchers, personal trainers, told that it's just growing pain, told that this surgery will fix it, told that this product will fix it. So once high school was done, if you don't have any college basketball scholarships, that's it. So now all of a sudden, it wasn't someone else trying to fix my problem. I was out on my ass and I had to fix it myself. So I decided I was going to figure out how to fix it. So you see the difference there. I always assumed that someone else knew how to fix it and that someone would fix it for me. At 18, I decided I was going to figure out how to fix it. No one else had the answers. I was going to figure it out.
That's powerful stuff, man. Just taking responsibility, ownership, right? Not letting other people control your fate, but taking control yourself. Pretty impressive at 18 years old. Not a lot of 18-year-olds will really take that much responsibility. So, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you go into this, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to figure this out. But you talk to a lot of physical trainers. You talk to a lot of people in the gym. People are like doing squats and they're always like, don't put your knees over your toes. It's this kind of fine-tuned thing where if you put your knees too far over, you're going to get knee pain. If you put them too far back, you might get hip pain. And, you gotta stay in this really fixated mold. How did you find, why don't you agree with that, first of all, actually? What is it about that you say, you know what, this isn't working for me? And then I want to figure out how you found out the knees over toes.
So simple. I was trying thing after thing after thing, no success. I was actually, even though at 18 I decided I was going to figure out how to bulletproof the knees, by 19 I thought I was heading towards more surgeries because everything I was trying to do was only making it worse, and I was probably even more depressed. But so simply, I found a guy named Charles Poliquin who passed away this year. He's the most successful Olympic trainer of all time. He became my mentor, and he basically gave me the idea that I was being fed the opposite of what would fix my knees. And he had many documented cases of people that he fixed who were scheduled for surgeries and were able to cancel those surgeries and achieve tremendous heights as athletes. And that freaking guy, I could never, ever, ever repay that guy enough for the seed that he planted in me. And I did have to basically rough it alone and use my own experience at that point. But he got me on the track that it only took a couple weeks of trying to train the opposite of maximal knees over toes, maximal bend of the knees, as opposed to stopping at parallel. That shit was changing for the better. And I knew within 2 weeks of finding this guy, I knew that things were going to be different. And the rest of my life since that point has been figuring out how to actually use that on any person safely, how to create a bridge from one point to another. When do you progress? What exercises to do? But Charles Poliquin got me started on that path.
Incredible guy, an absolute, brilliant mind when it came to fitness.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah, I've followed him for a couple years. I don't know him personally, but
nice.
So sad when I heard about him passing away. May rest in peace.
Yeah.
That was definitely a loss, but interesting. A lot of connections, but it is crazy, kind of in a way, where to go the complete opposite of conventional wisdom, and I guess at the point where you're sitting there with, you've actually gone worse by 19 years old and you might be facing more surgeries, you'd be willing to try anything, because most people will say that won't work. And so within 2 weeks, you were able to feel no pain, or it was significantly improved? It was that fast?
Within 2 weeks, after not being able to be on the court for multiple years, within 2 weeks, I was back on the court and I never missed a practice or game due to my knees ever since. That doesn't mean it was all smooth sailing, but shit changed like for real within 2 weeks. Now, I don't guide people the way I did that 2 weeks. I get them to those results, but I did it right through the snaps, crackles, and pops, and tried to do way too much and pushed right through the pain. I was at the breaking point that like you said, I was willing to do anything. So, and even the way I did it then, I then had to actually reverse stuff out later and fix it. So, but the point is that just by trying to strengthen the crap out of my knees over toes, it at least changed the structures enough to get me back on the court.
Incredible. For the average person, people that you train, people that you've figured out this system, and I think you got, is it a 4-level system? Is that right?
4 base levels, and I work hard on some undercut levels to assist anyone in even getting into the first level, as well as some advanced levels, which you could use after the first 4 levels to just get what if you're like one of these crazy skiers who jumps off cliffs, or a basketball guy who's trying to jump over people and dunk, and you might land in crazy, awkward situations.
Yeah, absolutely. I played basketball. I'm super short, but I was just a point guard. But I can't tell you how many times I landed. It was ankles. I would sprain my ankle constantly because I landed on people's feet a lot, and it was like almost every year. But I, even to this day, just with working out, I got really into fitness. I'm big on stretching and flexibility because I had a lot of pain in my back, my hips. So that really helped. But, okay, I want to go back to in the average person, if they enter a program with you, or if they follow some of your steps, how many weeks would you say that they would start to see a significant difference?
Yeah, most people start to see a huge difference within a couple of weeks.
So, okay, what is this, like some simple, like what's the premise of this? Like, okay, where does it all come from? I've seen some posts of yours. I saw one of Michael Jordan where he's, sitting there, he's driving the lane and his knee's way over his toe. It's obviously comes from an athletic background, but why put the knee maximally over the toes? Like, is there any science behind this as far as what the reasoning is, that it works so well?
Totally. I can make it super simple. The big myth of no knees over toes is argued by it's a fact that when your knees are over your toes in exercises, there's more pressure on your knees. But that's like saying, don't do this exercise. It puts pressure on your bicep. You might grow your bicep. It's literally that dumb. You want abs? Oh, don't do that. That puts pressure on your abs. The trick, it's a whole new subject. So people don't know what exercises to do. And when it comes to training your knees over your toes, the magical solution I found is that you just gradually build what you can do without pain. So you don't go knees over your toes to the point that it hurts. So my step-by-step system simply takes what can you do without pain. And usually people end up finding by the end of even one workout that they just got the best leg workout of their life. So it starts strengthening up around the knees so that when you are in sports in life, when your knees are over your toes, the muscles can handle the job. It's literally that simple.
Incredible. It makes so much sense. If anybody's ever played sports, that you're constantly putting your knee over your toe. And one of the biggest things, with sports injuries, I don't know if you follow football at all, but RG3, who had that knee injury, he was so explosive and so fast, but people said that because of his cut speed, it was common that he might have I'm not sure if it's MCL or ACL injury, but that's really common with those guys because they cut so hard. what's his name? Derrick Rose. You know, you play basketball, Derrick Rose, I mean, explosive speed, and he cut so hard. He put so much pressure on there. It's really building up the muscles around the knee. I mean, Derrick Rose actually had an amazing game a couple months ago, which was pretty cool to watch, but it was sad almost that he was going to be an amazing person for the Bulls. And he really didn't ever come back to his prime after that knee injury.
Yep. So that's why my system, if you're just an older person trying to live healthily, I have exercises you would gradually work on to do so. But if you're Derrick Rose, being athletic, as we can see, does not prevent you from hurting your knee. Derrick Rose was one of the most athletic people on the planet when he had his first knee injury. It's your own ratios of strength. So with my knee system, I can give you exact numbers. So if I had you train at my gym, or if I trained you online, which it's the exact same thing, just through videos, I could tell you, yep, you're this likely to have a knee surgery. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it could, because you can put out more force than your knee can handle without too much force going into the actual knee and ligaments. So with someone like Derrick Rose, he simply would have had to get his knees able to handle the force that he was putting out from his hips. So it's all ratios. So whether you're an older person or whether you're the greatest athlete on earth, I can help a person use math with physics to protect their joints. There's no true bulletproof. Like if someone took a baseball bat to my knee, that shit's going to hurt. It's not. So bulletproof doesn't mean bulletproof in that sense. It's not like a karate. Like I had a karate instructor when I was a kid, let me beat his shin with a wooden board and it didn't hurt him because he had done it so many times. It's not bulletproof in that sense. It's bulletproof in the sense that for your body, it's virtually impossible that you could put enough force into your knee through natural methods of your own production to hurt your knee. So if you stood on a 10-story building and jump off, something's going to pop. It might not be your knee, but something's going to go. That's just, we're talking about when you play sports. For the basketball player who has chronic knee pain, I simply didn't have the ratios of strength needed to protect my knees. So every time I play, it's beating on my knees. And of course, that makes it more likely over time to eventually pop something.
You know, I was just thinking, even people who don't play sports, who are just runners, they run outside. Lots of people, you know, do cardio, love to run outside. I live in California. You know, you live in Florida. I'm sure lots of people like to run outside. And the impact on your joints from running outside long distances, I mean, it's one of the reasons why sometimes I'll do an elliptical machine instead, because the impact is so intense on my body that, you know, anybody could use this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anybody can strengthen up their knees. And okay, so back to that ratio, really intriguing. Do you have is there an exact ratio, or an ideal ratio for hip power to, you know, quad, knee, calf, or something? Like, how did you figure that out?
So again, Charles Poliquin planted the seed. And if you search his name and you search something like structural balance, you'll see that for like the shoulders, he's come up with numbers like, okay, you bench this much. How strong does your rotator cuff need to be to handle that bench? Things like that. So I took that concept and I applied it to every area of the body, but I applied it to the knees in ways that no one else has had as much attention on, because that is my passion in life.
Absolutely. Do you have exact numbers, or do you take in like what you're?
Oh, I have exact numbers, and I will definitely, anyone like yourself who reaches out and helps spread the word, I'll actually put you I'll put you into the ATG system for free, just for your browsing. You can see all my numbers. You can see all that stuff. I try to give away some stuff, but I found that I really have to coach people because they're movements that no one's done before. And so I started a YouTube channel and was giving everything away for free, but then I'm getting tagged in stuff where people are doing the form, they're applying it wrong, that they're literally going to hurt themselves. So I was like, okay, that's not the right way to do it. So So yeah, me and my team work together to provide an affordable coaching service. I mean, not to mention my gym itself, it's $150 a month and you get personally trained every time you come in my gym. I mean, it's absurd the value people get for $150 a month to have a personalized, personally coached workout every time they come in my gym. And then online, it's $49.50 a month. And yeah, I mean, I signed a guy up today and he's literally on the phone saying, holy shit, he can't believe he's getting all this service for $49.50. So I have to coach people through it. But for guys who are in social media who come and visit my gym, I just had like six professional dunkers come down. I'll throw you on the system for free just so you do have an understanding of it, so that if people ask you questions, you can help them out and just for fun to share the knowledge. But I'm still learning what's the best way to share that knowledge that it actually gets applied right, because the exercises are so unconventional and they are delicate and they have to be done right. Once you start doing it, it's like, holy shit, this is so simple. But that initial process of getting started, it's just so different. So it's without being able to see someone, whether it's in my gym or see their form video sent to me, it's too risky to just send people off on their own. And there's no frame of reference because most of the exercises I use don't even exist in YouTube videos. If you search it, it doesn't exist. So
when my friend told me, he's like, oh man, I've been following this guy, he's the knees over toes guy. And I'm like, huh. And the minute I saw this, I was like, what is going on? Because these are exercises I've never seen. I've been in the gym my entire life. I played basketball, all the way through high school, like from 6 years old. And these are things that we never did. So I was obviously blown away. And I tried so hard. So I'm 5'8", and like I could grab onto the rim at one point. A couple times in my life, as I was able to squat more, I had a little more strength, was able to be more explosive. But I was never able to fully dunk a basketball. I have no idea what my vertical is right now, but I can tell you it's nowhere near. I'm not touching the rim at all. Maybe the backboard.
Gotcha.
So I love it, and I want to go in if we can. So I know it's really, really complicated. We don't want to get into the.
Oh no, I'm still going to dig in there. I'm just trying to give you, I'm just trying to tell you why if I can't just spew a bunch of numbers because they're not going to mean anything because they're not even going to know what exercise that's referring to. And you know what I mean? So, but no, I'm still going to dig in there with you.
Well, let's dig in because like I said before, and here on Unleash Success, we always talk about the 80-20 rule where we're trying to get 80% of our results from 20% of our actions. Key is knowing which actions to take. If I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm thinking, all right, knees over toes, and everybody talks about the pain that you might experience or, the form, you got to have proper form in the gym. And my personal trainer told me to do this, or I saw it on YouTube and this guy does it this way. But we're going against the conventional wisdom here to bulletproof our knees, which is something that nobody else can promise. And so what are some exercises, some actions that we can take, today, even at home or in our gym, that can start the process of strengthening our knees?
All right, let's dig in. So I said how there's 4 main levels of knee training, but then I've also kind of worked on some undercut levels and some top dog levels, above and below that 4 levels. So if we just look at the 4 levels, the first thing I started doing that created a real change in my knees was just the opposite of what had put all the trauma into my knees in the first place. The simplest way to do that is to drag a sled backwards or to get on a treadmill, turn the treadmill off, and use your own strength to spin the mill in reverse. So all you're doing there is you're simply strengthening the muscles that you would have to use when you do put that force into your knees. So whether it's the overuse of a runner or a basketball player with all the hard cuts and jumps where you're taking that forward force and then having to slow it down. So now we're just putting that on rewind. That's the simplest thing you could do. I've had literally hundreds of success stories of people tell me, all I did, I went on the treadmill, didn't turn it on, started spinning the wheel backwards, and I've gotten a better workout in my legs than I've ever had after surgery, or I did that every other day for a few weeks, and now my jumper's knee pain or my runner's knee pain is completely gone. So it couldn't be more simple. You're literally just strengthening the deceleration of the surrounding areas of the knee. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense, and it's interesting. It's really about almost creating balance in the muscle development and the impact.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
and we do it on everything else. It's just like you don't think about it because our bodies are designed kind of to move forward like that, but by moving backwards, you end up training the areas that you normally wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. So I like that treadmill. Super simple, super easy.
Right. That's your foundation level. I've seen people who can maintain long careers, maintain their hops, their speed for years, much longer than they're supposed to, just by doing that, because it balances out the flow. But that alone won't cause you to like double your vertical jump, and it won't protect you for like crazy intense stuff. So,
and Ben, real quick, how long should we do an exercise like that, go in reverse on the treadmill? Like,
it's hard. It's hard to screw up. So whether you try, but that's a good point. So ready. So here's your quick guideline. So whether you're towing a sled backwards, or whether you put your car in neutral, have a buddy steer, put your rump against the back end of the car and push backwards, or you hop on a treadmill, grab the handles and start spinning the wheel in reverse. The first thing is to step pain-free. That's how you know at least like your muscles are doing the job. Now, keeping those steps small and pain-free, if you just start to speed up your step, that does make your muscle work harder. Then you can start to gradually inch your steps longer. And if it's in the case of a sled, you could start to add more weight to the sled. But usually people will have to start stepping quicker. So it's interesting. You actually want to start stepping quicker. Even when I'm pulling a 500-pound sled, I'm trying to step as quick as I can. It doesn't look quick, but I'm really like putting my effort into it. And depending on how much resistance there is, because I've found that treadmills really vary in like how much natural resistance there is on the belt. I've seen some mills where if I go as hard as I can for 30 seconds, my quads are already on fire. But someone with knee pain would probably take longer because they wouldn't be able to spin it around as many times as I could per second. So you never work through pain. So how long you go is really relative to how healthy your knees are getting. So I typically find some people have to just, as an opening routine, I'll just say, get on there and go for 5 minutes. See if you can find a burn. Then you could do sets of 2 minutes with full recoveries in between, or you could do sets of 60 seconds or sets of 30 seconds. That's why I coach people through it. It depends what implement they have. It depends what sport they play. Like maybe for a runner, a long distance runner, you could kind of try to find that same pace, just going backwards. But then for a dunker who's going to run up and put crazy amount of force into their knee, I might try to drive them up. Like how much weight can they drag while still stepping quickly or something like that.
But the key is not to have pain, right?
The key is no pain and try to chase a burn. So if adding weight to the sled is less burn, it means you're probably not able to really contribute to it the way you should. So it's always whatever gets the most burn. It varies on the mill. Levels 2, 3, 4 of my system could not be more precise. Like you could cut them with an X-Acto knife. Level 1, it's hard to screw up. It's not precise at all. It's literally just getting some general strengthening going in the reverse of what's causing you pain. And if every gym in America had the exact same turf and the exact same sled that I have, well, then it would be super easy to tell people exactly what to do. So in my gym, I tell them exactly what to do. But it just varies so much based on how much your sled weighs, the friction of the sled, the friction of the turf, whether you even have a sled. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, absolutely.
If you keep those rules in mind, don't work through pain. Realize that smaller, quicker steps are going to be safer than trying to take too long of steps and put too much pressure on your knee. You're trying to only put as much pressure as you can do pain-free. And if you go quicker, you might start to build up a burn. So my final tip on that, try to get more of a burn than you've ever had in your life. Most people are not. They don't realize how hard they have to push their body in my system. And so when it comes to that, even that first level of pushing a car backwards or getting on a treadmill, which we call a dead mill when it's not turned on, backwards, or dragging a sled backwards, once you do find that pain-free zone of what you can do, I mean, push it. I've sometimes strapped up on the sled and just gone for 10 minutes straight. Or sometimes I'll keep loading weight until I literally cannot go backwards. It's really hard to screw up as long as you're not working through pain. And as long as you push and you try to chase more of a burn in your legs than you've ever experienced in your entire life.
Incredible. And I'm just thinking about it too, just about your success rate going from 19-inch vertical to 39 inches.
I think I'm over that now, but yeah, that's true.
Holy cow. I mean, I know guys who had 44-inch verts and it's explosive and they're just soaring through the air. And you're like, it's incredible. So, okay, how do I do that?
Well, that's what's interesting is I set out to figure out how to bulletproof the knees. I just wanted to be able to play basketball. I didn't care about how high I was going to jump. I just wanted to be able to play pain-free. But by improving how much force you can put into your knees, man, it allows you to go out and practice jumping and actually make gains from it because you can apply more and more force into it. And so as I started to learn these ratios and realized that by keeping the right proportion, if I could now bring my knees up to where I could improve the power of my hips and then bring my knees up some more so I can improve the power of my hips even more, then it's just simple physics and math. And you can jump higher and higher and higher. And that's why I actually think I'll get to a 50-inch vertical because I haven't showed any signs of slowing down. Like I haven't stopped being able to jump higher. I just have to keep putting the work in.
Careful you don't hit your head on the rim.
That's the goal is to have I think people should be able to practice what they preach. And I thought it was cool just being able to dunk because that was a lifelong dream. And I can't tell you how surreal it is to play basketball and dunk. It's literally surreal. Like I could cry thinking about what it feels like to be able to go play basketball and dunk after going my entire life with that being a forlorn dream. However, recently I was kind of like, well, shit, I have the tools. I have a responsibility not just to be able to dunk. I need to try to pursue the maximum that I could possibly achieve. So now I'm actually following these numbers and continuing to go higher and higher. But the higher I get, the better my knees feel because I do it with an honest respect for the numbers. I don't go outside of the numbers because it will F you in the A because it's just math and physics. So yes, what started out as a passion to fix the knees, and still that's my greatest passion by far. But the system does allow you, if you want to run faster and jump higher, it's simple math. And that's usually what I get hired for, is just people who want to run faster and jump higher. Probably 60% people who just want to run faster and jump higher, and 40% who are reaching out in dire straits regarding their knees.
So quick question. I'm just curious, dunking was a lifelong, goal. And I'm sure everybody's just wondering, how tall are you?
I'm 6'1",
6'1", okay.
That it's not like I'm 5'8". There's nothing terribly impressive about being able to dunk when you're 6'1". But I mean, I post dunks all the time on my Instagram, and I remember posting one a couple weeks ago, and someone said something like, "That's a hell of a dunk, but if only they knew where you came from," because I actually grew up with that person. So it's coming from where I came from. It was thought that something like that would never be possible for me because I was made fun of my whole life for how unathletic I was. I ran a 6.23 40-yard dash when I was the leading scorer on my high school team. Yeah, now I run a 4.4 40. And so
no way. You run a 4.4 40 now.
Yeah. And even it's just simple math. Like running faster and jumping higher is the easy part. fixing the knees is the delicate part because I have to be able to really coach the person from the very beginning. Meaning, just because I have the right tools, depending on how bad your knees are right now, like it doesn't mean that doing one workout and all of a sudden your problems are solved, because it is a system of science and physics. There's nothing magical about doing the routine. The magic is in the consistency of applying it. So when you're in those beginning stages, say you have really bad knees and you hire me to work on your knees, that doesn't mean that going out and playing the basketball that night that you might still not hurt your knee. Because if you're at the freaking bottom of my scale, you have to work your way up the scale. So that's the more delicate part. But fixing knees or running faster or jumping higher, it's all just math and physics. There's really I haven't found any outliers or anything like that.
It's interesting is I'm trying to remember right now there's a force factor for doing the hex bar deadlift. Depending on how much you could deadlift, it would fairly accurately predict like how fast you would be
with 90% accuracy.
Yeah, so I remember for a while there, I was training, and I never trained hex bar deadlift, but I was training that constantly because I was like, let me see like what I can do, because it all requires, jumping higher, running faster is heavily dependent on the amount of force you can exert on the earth in like a small area of just your foot. Right. Yeah. So the more force you can push down with, the more force you lift up with. So you're faster and you're stronger. And it sounds like there's a lot of parallels with what you're talking about between bulletproofing the knees and bulletproofing knees is everything everybody should want, but the exciting results of 4-4-40 over 40-inch vertical, that's what everybody loves.
Exactly. Ready? I'm going to break that whole thing down for you. So yeah, it was found that like a hex bar deadlift, because if you look at it, you're basically just like bending your ankles, your knees, and your hips, and then like pushing against the ground as hard as you can. So relative to your own weight, these researchers found that within 90% accuracy, it could predict who the faster athlete is. And I remember that when that came out, and guess what I did? I've tested entire teams, and that shit is true. But working on your hex bar deadlift is not what will make you run faster. If you take a bunch of guys who have never lifted weights before, that test is true within 90%. So I've taken guys who have never lifted weights and they can deadlift near triple body weight. Those guys I've trained now to 50-inch vertical jumps. They are naturally stronger than I am right now, pound for pound. Here's the trick. If you just try to go train your hex bar deadlift, God bless those other guys. So if you try to get the same strength pound for pound that they have, and you're only using a hex bar deadlift, you're not going through a full range of motion. So you're not training all your muscle fibers. So even if you equal up your hex bar deadlift, you don't equal up all the other muscle fibers those guys have. So you have to, I've found that I can drive up someone's hex bar deadlift, but you will never ever see someone hex bar deadlift in my gym. If you see that, call me and I'll run over there and slap him in the face. But if you were to test hex bar deadlift, you would see that my athletes drive up 50 to 100 pounds without ever hex bar deadlifting. So my own max hex bar deadlift has skyrocketed, but without ever training the movement, because I have to train it balanced according to how God created us, not just according to a hex bar deadlift. So I isolate out all these individual pieces through deep ranges of motion so that I'm not leaving any stone unturned. There's 3 things wrong with thinking that doing a hex bar deadlift is the solution to running faster. Number 1 is just what I said. You have to train it through a full range of motion. Number 2 is that it predicts within 90%, but the hex bar deadlift is only how much force you can put into the ground. And it doesn't account for being able to pick up your own legs. So if you just train your strength in the weight room of your legs to put force into the ground, you'll start running faster. But how do you keep running faster at top speed if your legs feel heavier to you now? And that's where I found I've trained so many guys who jack up their entire lower body in the weight room and can't run any faster. And it's because their hip flexors, the muscles that pick up their legs, are not strengthened in proportion to all the muscles pushing into the ground. And Japanese researchers have found that those hip flexors are basically the biggest difference between a regular human and an elite sprinter. Of course, an elite sprinter has stronger calves, hamstrings, glutes, yada, 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 yada. Nope. None of those proportionately are as different in an elite sprinter compared to a regular human as the hip flexors. So even though I strengthened my entire lower body to be able to dunk, once I could dunk a basketball, I still could not break 5 seconds in a 40-yard dash. And now with relatively the same strength, I can run a 4.40 because of my hip flexors, the muscles that pick up my legs. 99% of the time when I start training someone, they're not addressing the hip flexors in proportion to how much they're training their ability to put force into the ground. So that's the second side. That's the reason for the 10%. The 10% variance comes in because of the hip flexors, and because if some kid has just trained themselves to a great, because I've seen guys train themselves to a great hex bar deadlift and still be slow as dirt because they have no range of motion and they have no hip flexors. And then the third factor. So basically range of motion, hip flexors are both not accounted for with the hex bar deadlift test. And then the third factor, you train a guy who can deadlift 3 times his weight without ever having trained. That means he's gone his whole life jumping higher and running faster than you. That means when he jumps, he's landing from 40, 45 inches or more off the ground. He's basically doing shock training his entire life. So his tendons have adapted to be more elastic, meaning they can snap back stronger than yours. So if you jack up your hex bar deadlift, but you don't account for the decade that the other guy with the same hex bar deadlift as you has been landing from those forces and shocking his tendons to be springier, you're still not going to be as springy and fast and jump as high. So tendon elasticity, hip flexors, and range of motion are all not accounted for with that. Sorry to go off on a whole different tangent.
No, I totally understand, get it, and also very, very interesting because that makes a lot of sense. It's a good test, but not necessarily a great training tool.
Exactly, and that's all that I found. That's all.
Yeah. And okay, so I once upon a time I used to be fast, and you know it was nice. I was in high school and I was also like 25 pounds lighter, but it was I actually know that when I run out a lot in like sprinting scenarios, and I play flag football on the beach, so it's a lot of digging in, but man, my hip flexors are so sore.
Yeah, they're not strong enough.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And
my system will tell you exactly how strong they need to be, and there's no way yours are strong enough. That's the ultimate sign, is that, oh my God, man, I used to, by the end of a basketball tournament, I could barely walk. My hip flexors were like pulled off the bone, even down to my rectus femoris sometime, that middle quad muscle. I don't know if you ever feel that guy start to tug, but they just weren't strong enough to keep picking up my legs.
So, my next question then is, how do I get them, like what's an exercise I can do to get them stronger so I can actually increase my speed and use the strength of my legs that I've been working on for years?
Well, yeah, it's really cool. It's super simple. Just like for protecting your knees, the solution is gradually building up how much force you can handle without pain. Well, for the hip flexors, it's basically how good you are at picking up your own leg off the ground. So you ever see a gymnast run like crazy fast, even though they don't have big, strong legs compared to their upper body? Well,
oh yeah,
the upper body, if it has really good range of motion and really good strength around the joints that you don't get from a flat, regular bar bench press, you can swing your arms crazy fast. And then those hip men, gymnasts can they can do leg raises like nobody's business. And so when they run, their legs feel like a feather. So if you wanted to make an ultimate speed athlete, you'd basically take a gymnast body and give them a sprinter's glutes and hamstrings. So, you basically have to work various leg raise variations. And again, we do totally unorthodox ones, but we basically just work on how well we can hold our own legs in the air.
Okay, so I'm thinking like I've actually I've known that they were weaker at times, and the longer I would sprint in sand, the harder it would get. If I played 2 or 3 games, I was toast. 1 game, I'm usually fine. But I knew that, and so I would train just doing leg lifts was what I would do, or just kind of running like high knees, something I used to do, in high school. But is there any other, like you said?
Yeah, you have to have the long-term progression. how good would you get at a chin up if you just had like a resistance band and like pulled down or something? You need that necessity level. You need that drive to get stronger. So what if, I want you to think of something for a second. What if for every squat or deadlift or leg pushing exercise of any kind you had ever done in your entire life, what if you strategically trained your hip flexors to failure against resistance? That's ATG training. You can't help but run faster. It's impossible. You can go through my program against your own will and you'll run like a gazelle. You just can't help it. But if you train out of proportion to that, I can't guarantee you'll run faster if you're training your force into the ground more than you're training your ability to pick up your own leg. So through various exercises of either sitting or hanging and raising your own legs, or laying on your back with your feet strapped up to a cable machine, pulling as hard as you possibly can. We train the hip flexors for a set of hip flexors for every set of hip extensors. Hip extensors being like
rule.
Back extension, reverse hyper, deadlift, remaining deadlift, good more. Any set of hip extensor strengthening, we're doing a set of hip flexors. And that even includes squats, because even on a squat, you're extending your hip.
So you're saying, sit on a bench, pull your legs up, or you can attach your legs to a cable and pull them like knees to your chest? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, more or less, exactly. And in my system, like I coach that as a very exact process. But even if you just search my Instagram, the knees over toes guy, I mean, I give all kinds of the exercises on there, so you can see like firsthand. Again, the names can really vary on these exercises, so you just kind of have to. I recommend seeing it. And on if you scroll on Knees Over Toes Guy, or if you scroll on Athletic Truth Group, it's all there.
Yeah, your Instagram is awesome. Highly
Thanks.
Confusing if you don't know what you're looking at, but no,
exactly. But right now, if you're listening to this right now, you could go on there and you could be like, all right, let me look for some of the shit he's talking about hip flexors, about picking his own legs up. You know what I mean? And boom, you'll look right there and see exercises.
Yeah. A couple exercises that I just wanted to like briefly go over to see like how they work for you. There's 3 exercises that I kind of see a lot in your feed. One is like a lunge where you go knee completely over the toe, a very like long extension.
Yeah, my favorite exercise ever.
Oh, okay. Great. Like the other one too, we'll just go over 2 maybe. The other one was, almost like you're on a platform box.
Yep.
And you're stepping down.
That's right.
And then stepping back up.
Yep.
So those 2 exercises, I just want to get like kind of almost like a short little game plan. Like we got the walking backwards on a treadmill or the sled pull as one of the first exercises to start with. How can we incorporate these exercises into like a short thing so I can try that? I'm literally going to try this for the next 3 weeks.
And I'm going to put you on the system, and you're going to send me your form, and you're going to get 100% standard results.
That's awesome. I don't experience a lot of knee pain unless I'm working out a lot. But what I really want to do is actually, I'm embarrassed, but I want to measure my vertical and then see if I can get it up.
You definitely can. So perfect timing that you brought up those 2 exercises, because those are levels 2 and 3 of my system. So I talked about how the whole backward against resistance is not very precise, because there's just so many different ways of doing it in terms of what you have access to. But height and weight, those are exact measurables. So both for the split squat and the reverse step up, we can measure those precisely, and I can compare them to your hips and such to see how strong you need to be, or how strong you'd want to get to jump even higher. So here's how it goes. Level 2 of my knee building system is the reverse step up, because what you're doing with that exercise, you're directly, measurably seeing how far and how strong your knee can go over your toe. So I find that the less it can go over and the weaker it is going over, the more knee problems you're going to have. It's never lied ever once, ever. You'd have to deny gravity. Like you'd have to deny like crazy shit like that to even approach why that wouldn't work. So,
and real quick, Ben, I want to just mention for everybody who's listening to this, just because I know exactly what you're talking about. But what I'll do is I'll send a link in the show notes, videos of each of these exercises, so people can literally watch you exactly. So after they listen to this, they fully understand exactly what you're talking about. I just want to put that in there.
Dope. Yeah. So step 2 is simply isolating how far and how strong your knee can go over your toes. And so, just like the reverse sled dragging, the whole level 1 reverse dead mill, just going backwards against weight, like that level 2 reverse step up, no working through pain. I've had people start by standing on a 1-inch box. So you basically use a height that you can step down from without pain. And yes, there's lots of little details in the form, but that's the gist of it. And not only that you can step down from, but that you can step back up without any push off from the bottom leg. And you'll see in the videos, how that works. So when you work up in height, you eventually get to where you're actually working on the flexibility of your ankle. So the flexibility of how far your knee can go over your toes, and you're doing so the most range you can do without pain and the most weight you can do without pain. And so I guide people. It's like, why can every guy at LA Fitness bench 225? Because they work on it. You know what I mean? Like, guys get stronger. You start out benching 95 pounds in high school and you can bench 225 by the end or whatever. So it's the same thing with your knees. You just have to add that to your training regimen, and you have to do it in a way that you don't injure yourself along the way. And that's always your number 1 rule, is that you're not working through pain. You're doing what your muscles can handle. Now, that reverse step up only accounts for how far your knee goes over your toes, for how far your ankle can bend. It doesn't then account for when your knee bends below 90 degrees. So if you look at the reverse step up, you'll see that I'm just isolating bending my knee over your toe. But then if you look at level 3, the split squat, you'll see that I'm not only taking my knee as far as it can over the toes, I'm then bending the knee as much as it can bend. If you look at the split squat and you look at the starting position, my knee is nowhere near over my toes in the starting position. And really only around when your thigh is parallel to the floor and below, now the knee goes over the toes. So the step up is just that top quarter knee bend, and then the split squat is the full bend of the knee. Both exercises, you're getting your knees maximally over the toes. One's just isolating the bottom, one's isolating the top. I use those ratios to determine which one you need to spend more time on. Every athlete in ATG trains both, but at what proportion? So you want to be balanced between your strength in the bottom and your strength in the top. So those are levels 2 and 3. And then quite simply, squatting itself is level 4, but you only get as much out of that as you got out of levels 3 and 2. So if you get really good with your knee over your toe, and then you get really good at bending it all the way with your knee over your toe, you put 2 legs together and you go, holy shit, I feel like a squat master. And that's basically what happens in level 4. And that allows, by being on 2 legs, it allows for some different unique stuff, which is harder to simulate on 1 leg. So those are the 4 levels: backward, sled or dead mill, reverse step up, split squat, squat. Those 4.
Incredible. And with this system, you've had people 50-inch verticals.
Correct. Because you build up what their knee can handle, and then you drive up how much force they can produce at their hips. And then you can safely guide someone to higher vertical without screwing up their knees in the process.
Unbelievable. What a great system, and it makes sense, because athletes and any kind of physical activity you do where you're going to be putting a lot of strain on your knees, they're going to be over the toes. And I'm not sure where that got twisted in, personal training and form building, but
again, sorry to cut you off. It simply got twisted because of the data from scientific research that when your knee's over your toes, there's more pressure on your knees. But that's exactly how we produce change. It's like saying a bench press puts more pressure on your pecs. So
You're right. Yep. That was a miscommunication and why the results were there and what the effect would be.
Yeah, it's like if you jumped off your house and you tried to land on your hands in a push-up position, maybe you'd tear a pec. You know what I mean? So I see people trying to like max out on squats with their knees over their toes and stuff. And I have no idea knowing if they're ready for that or if that's really even what is going to produce the best result for what they're going for. So you see, it's an exact technology, and it's rarely ever done in gyms. I've literally to this day never been to a gym and seen someone do a reverse step up. In fact, you can look at even the way that I do a reverse step up. It does not exist online anywhere, not on YouTube. And it is the simplest freaking exercise ever. You literally just stand there and you step down. And it doesn't exist. It's crazy. And so, and then I've never been into a gym and seen a split squat like all the way down like we do. So they're 100% measurable, but you have to have the patience and do the level you're at. And if you try to do, if you try to do more depth, then you can actually bend, you're going to hurt your knee. If you try to do more weight than your muscle can actually handle, you're going to hurt your knee. So it's a whole subject that I hope, that's the simplicity of my life, that if by the end of my life, if that's just a more commonly understood subject and people know how to train their knees, then my life was a success.
Well, I think you definitely helped us in this interview here tremendously. I will absolutely send links to your Instagram where we can see all these videos, to atgcoaching.com as well. Can you, if you give us, what is your Instagram handle so everybody knows it?
Yeah, it's the knees over toes guy, all one word, lowercase. The knees over toes guy.
Effective. I actually love the name because it talks about everything you do. And your gym's in Florida, but if they wanted to join online coaching, where would they go?
They would go to atgonlinecoaching.com, and it's $49.50 a month. We don't make a shit ton of off each person because we actually coach your form after every single session, and that takes time. So every single workout, you go do these exercises I'm talking about. You then send us the form clip. We make sure you're doing it right. We make sure you're progressing right. And we handle your flexibility, every aspect of your training from head to toe, from plantar fasciitis to tennis elbow. Everything we do at ATG, we deliver online. That's the whole goal of it. And as we kind of keep improving how we're able to integrate technology into that, it'll keep getting more user friendly. But the user friendliness of it now is as high as it'll ever be because we just go over and beyond to give all that personal attention. Maybe one day a robot could do this. I have no idea, but it's not like a thing where you just like buy like a 6-week program and then you're like, oh crap, I just paid for like a printout and that's it or something. You know what I mean? Like the goal is that we coach you exactly like you're at ATG, my gym. And we just are able to use, basically videos explaining what to do and then video clips from you of what to do. And we're basically able to do the same thing short of slapping your ass after a good set. I'm working on that, but the technology's got to come up a ways.
Right on. Well, I really, really appreciate it. I'm actually thinking about my girlfriend had a few knee issues in the past, and the doctor said it was runner's knee and told her to take a couple months off.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, I can't wait to show her all the different exercises that we've gone over today. And I'm excited to get into this program. Absolutely. So thank you so much. Ben, going from 19 inches to well over 40, a 6.2 40 to a 4.4. 4.4, if anybody doesn't know, is
fucking fast.
Fucking fast is right. Like nobody will catch you fast.
Yeah.
Most NFL players, the fastest of the fast are 4.3, 4.4, right around there. Incredible. So just an amazing success story, turning everything around after multiple knee surgeries. So I wanted to ask for you, what is your next level of success?
The same thing that makes me like so caring in what I do. I've also been a terrible businessman in the sense of like, I'm not profit driven. That's not who I am. And so helping the maximum number of people by making my coaching available anywhere and just so user friendly at a low price that anybody can afford.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah. That's my goal. Is that, if you're in anywhere in the world and you have knee pain, for a price you can totally afford that doesn't mess anything up in your finances, you can get the exact coaching that I would personally give you. You know what I mean? And you just get a guaranteed result. Boom, you have knee pain, you'll get rid of it. You want to run faster, you'll run faster. You know what I mean? And that you're able to get that just completely smoothly and effortlessly.
Fantastic, Ben. Thank you so much for coming on Unleash Success.
Oh man, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be following your channel. I think it's amazing. Unleash Success. That's my life right there. So I love it, man. I can't thank you enough for having me on.
If you enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that I have is please go subscribe, whether you're on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you leave us a 5-star rating or review, that absolutely helps us get our message out there. Each week, I'm going to continue to interview amazing people, and we're going to break down their tools and strategies to help get you real results. Feel free to visit the website, unleashsuccess.com, and subscribe to our newsletter so you can get updates each week. And remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way you're going to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So take some action, subscribe to the podcast today, and get ready to unleash success in you.